All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 15.
And,
all right.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Things about to go down. So, last episode, it was a bit crazy. It went about as predictably as we could have expected, but that doesn't make it any better because casualties of war. Oh my.
Yes.
Civilians.
Ill-planned campaigns leading to ill-managed resources and people dying.
And naps getting in the way. Why a napper was put in high command of this very important expedition, I have no idea. But
why he doesn't have someone he can delegate this kind of stuff to when he's taking said nap? Because I would say that taking a rest is legitimate. But
then you leave someone else.
You leave someone else who can make that call then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here we are, and this sea of stars that is the fleet is starving, or will soon.
Will soon starve.
Yeah.
So this is basically the moment where instead of it being in the context of one movie, it's over the course of an arc of episodes where Yang is going to have to pull a miracle here.
Yep.
Will there be some way that an engagement with the Empire or the Alliance, at the very least, utilizing their massive fleet in some way to have some leverage, maybe, before this turns into a total failure? And, what would be the way that Yang would do that?
Well, and what kind of leverage are they going to have, given the fact that they don't have much time left in this conquest?
They have a lot of systems still.
They have a lot of systems, but... So they're going to then use those systems as leverage? Like, this could get a lot worse, theoretically.
So there's a huge potential if the Alliance has some kind of, quota that the politicians need to have the fleet out there warring for all that time. They could end up doing things to delay the war or delay the battle. Not the battle, but delay the campaign in a way that makes them look better, but actually leads to a lot of problems.
Oh my!
So but that's where we're at, and
let the routing commence.
Reinhard, you can have your way now. It's almost all fallen right into your hands, silver platter. So without further ado, y'all, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. Okay. Here's one of my favorite things about this episode. Not only did we get the whole episode basically be fleet battles,
which is amazing, which
is just so cool. We also got to see all the perspective admirals that we've kind of just been given the names for and a little bit of characterization for the majority of them, but we got to see little bits of them being their own characters, and they didn't get great focus necessarily.
Maybe sometimes 10 seconds, for each one,
Right, but the idea that they're going to be recurring arms, so to speak, of Reinhardt's fleet, for instance, because primarily it was those admirals that are the ones that stuck around, whereas
I thought you were talking about the Alliance fleet. Admirals. It's just and they're
half the Alliance admirals are gone already, at least. I lost count after a certain point.
Certainly makes our job easier.
But oh my god, just the fact that not only were they, because as I understand it, they had their fleet literally in a line. In a line of basically no one can get behind us, at least. But no, we are going to not utilize our massive power of having all these fleets working together, but we're going to have each fleet be its own individual thing, maneuvering around.
It's a little, another example of how they didn't have good leadership, right? It's something where if Yang was kind of supreme overlord dictator or whatever, he probably could have run this a lot better.
Or just even at the very least had a fleet commander that was presently engaged with the actual combat. Now, that's something that I find rather interesting. Lobos is the one that was the leader of this expedition. The fleet commander, head, high honcho guy and what have you. Green Hill's, kind of up there as well, but the decision to not fully retreat may have lost them the remaining 30% of the Alliance fleet, sans the fleet that's not completely destroyed yet, and then Yang's 13th fleet. And there might have been another fleet out there that was partially remaining.
Yep.
But they just retreated already to Iserlon.
One of the other things that I'm kind of interested in seeing happen as a result of this, but also because this is episode 15,
right? Yeah.
This is the kind of big epic stuff that you would expect for a lot later in a story, considering that there's 100 plus episodes or whatever.
Right.
Is the idea that these 200,000 ships that they fielded, they won't necessarily ever be able to do this again.
Nope.
Right? Maybe with a bunch of hefty loaning from the Fejan Dominion, but they won't be able to do this. So, and granted, hopefully not all of the ships here will get destroyed. They'll be able to retreat, surrender, something, right?
Well, I think they're going to come back with probably around 25 to 15% of their ships.
Yeah,
like pretty substantial amount.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's not like the Alliance will be completely defeated, but the thing is that this is something like we were talking, when the episode was over, of this is, in our notes, this is just the Alliance being broken. But it really kind of is what it is, because they've talked about the economic strain that this war is on the Alliance, right?
Right.
And that the Empire is much better prepared for something like this because they're much bigger, they have way more resources and ships and everything, and
they also aren't necessarily as concerned with following certain rules in war, which is kind of the typical bad guy thing, but gives them a slight advantage when it comes to planning out these strategies.
Right.
And in some ways that makes the Alliance seem a little bit more of a, like the plucky underdog hero in this situation here, where they're like, we want to do the right thing.
And there are a lot of people that believe that very strongly. But there are a lot of people that don't.
There are a lot of people that don't. So if you're divided with regards to that in the Alliance, and you end up in situations where a campaign that could have been maybe the start of the end of the war, this could have been probably a milestone of establishing a peace treaty.
Yeah.
If they basically took, however many systems they took, I think it was in the hundreds of systems.
Yeah, something like 200, I think. Yeah.
And then basically just say, these are our systems now.
Right.
We will now, leverage them and basically say, we will make sorties from the Iserlon fortress if you ever try to come and attack these systems.
Right.
We'll leave a stationary fleet somewhere in an area that can, monitor the general look of things there, but nothing that we'll be overly committing to. And then they'll be they're probably just to supply and then to provide infrastructure for the systems.
I mean,
they could have basically been the Empire could have been okay, we just lost maybe 3% of our empire right there.
Why not? We can take it back later.
We'll sit and wait on this. We don't have to worry about anything right now. And yet the Alliance has so much political just bullshit behind this whole thing that they end up trying to bite off more than they can chew. Not only with regards to the military stuff there, but also with regards to the actual, handling of the personnel.
Yeah.
So you end up in these situations where Fork gets allowed to be, in charge of giving strategy, or not strategy, but kind of the scope and vision for this invasion here.
He gets given the job of giving strategy.
He basically told everyone else to get forked. But now we have actually a rather cool way to showcase that while this whole thing is boned from the beginning, Yang is still able to pull some incredible moves in the midst of it.
Oh yeah. Now there's a part of me that wonders, once they established the whole deal with Yang and Reinhardt having that sort of we stare off into the stars thinking about our rival, kind of a thing. There's this part where I've been okay, I want to see them meet in person, face to face, not just on the field of combat. But there was this part of me that's okay, how is that going to happen? If they both get into places where they're the rulers of the kingdoms or whatever, where they are the governing...
It would literally have to be a peace summit at that point.
Right, it would have to be a peace summit, or it would have to be something, I kind of thought this was where it was going to go in
Star Trek
the movie.
Style. Where they're big screens looking at each other.
No, not like that. But I thought it was going to be something where Yang would get captured when he did the whole thing of threatening...
sure.
I think it was Reinhardt's ship.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be something where he would let them get away and then he would end up getting captured. And then once they leave, I'm like, okay, but is that going to happen at some point, right? Because Yang is the competent one. He'll know how to survive and do all this stuff. But there may be a point where he can't run away, and this almost feels like it, where he's able to still like do his thing and whatnot. But if it comes to the point where he can't run away and he can't counterattack or anything like that, he will surrender, right?
He will, for the sake of not only the lives of his crew, but just for the sake of human life.
Exactly.
It's the humanitarian thing rather than the military thing.
And so, if that happens, potentially, we could have Reinhardt and him have a good conversation.
I will say that just probably with regards to what's happening here, there's no way Yang has to get captured here. He can just run away.
Yep.
And I would say that this is something that doesn't really directly affect this, but this is something that I had someone from Discord basically clarify for us here.
Yeah.
And that was that this world obviously has FTL technology. This is not the kind of show, though, where it matters how much beyond FTL they have achieved.
Space is big.
Space is big. You can't travel at all
even
between
with
planets.
FTL, it shouldn't really work.
Yes, exactly. So there is an assumption being made, because this is a sci-fi, that in order to traverse the vast depths of space and not have everyone super age or just age naturally, because it takes 40 years to get anywhere.
Or get into the realm of, like, if you were traveling faster than the speed of light, what would that do with time and things like that?
Yeah, exactly. So we just forget all that, assume they have FTL technology, at least in the big ships, and not only do they have it, it's something that is used constantly, and it's not some Star Wars hyperspace crazy like alternate dimension thing or what have you. It's just really fast engines,
and then
that
and then the Iserlon corridor is a supply chain. It's not that the space there's some blockage or whatever. It's just it's vast emptiness, and we need to have a line of things that can basically make it so that we can actually
keep jumping.
Keep jumping, yeah.
Right. Otherwise,
makes way more sense.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have the ability to make this this happen. Right. And the reason why this also geographically makes sense is that those two choke points are the arms of a swirling galaxy, essentially. So you have one part here that's going in a line, moving around with regards to gravity. And then on both ends, you have corridors where the Alliance is, compactly located in.
And it's also means that the battle that Yang and Reinhardt have, where they ended up circling each other, was kind of a microcosm, not just of the futility of war, but also
of the galaxy,
the actual setup of of their.
It was a visual representation of the legend of the galactic heroes.
One of the things, though, that they could also do here, because so the Alliance has been crippled here, right? They've tail between their legs. They should be running home right now. They should have been a long time ago.
Which they are.
Which they are. But because they have Iserlon, they can stave off a lot of the repercussions from this, because
they have a really big gun.
They have a really big gun that they plug in a hole and basically just say, don't come past here. Right now, it's the Australia thing where it's like you put all your troops on the one spot. If they get past there, you're dead. But hopefully they don't get past there, right?
They might not want to commit, because sometimes the defender just keeps winning ties, and it doesn't work out very well.
But one of the things that I would love to see is one of the smartest decisions I think they could make is they say, okay, Iserlon Fortress is now equivalent to the Alliance's survival. Yang, you are going to stay there. You are not going to let it fall under any circumstances.
I think that makes sense.
And then we can have another situation where Yang is vastly under-equipped for what he's getting, because he doesn't have the numbers, he doesn't have all this stuff, but he does have a tactical advantage in that don't attack a walled city, right?
Sun Tzu, classic. So, the main problem I see from this whole campaign is that someone's going to be the scapegoat. They set up in the previous whole setup there that the main head of the Alliance just fleet. What was his name?
Sidilet.
Sidilet is going to be canned probably after this campaign. Because
probably.
While he wasn't necessarily directly overseeing all of this, it is his job in a lot of ways to make sure that the personnel that are underneath him in the Alliance fleet are are held responsible for their actions and stuff. And then they being held responsible, it goes up the chain.
And this is, and I'm not sure how in depth they're wanting to go into this because there were a lot of things where there was incompetence shown, and it was like people were in command that shouldn't have been, right? And we didn't necessarily know why all those things are happening, because like this show, while it has immense scale, it's keeping things going really quick,
really clip pace,
really clip pace.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Me too.
I was definitely not expecting that.
Same.
Like because of the amount of detail that go into the small moments to kind of make the scale have meaning,
right?
Like show the hot shot fighter pilots. They're like, yeah, this is gonna be great.
Ivan and Oliver,
right, and then everything goes to shit.
Ivan and Oliver,
and then they're like, oh god, what happened, right?
Yeah, there was a weird thing going on there where there was a maintenance officer,
right,
that screwed up the gun orientation.
Right, he basically, like, it looked like he was just like, okay, yeah, this is done, go,
Right, so
it wasn't quite right.
It wasn't quite right. Now, I'm not going to, like, necessarily go hard on this theory, but one of the things that I thought that would almost have to be for the Fejon Dominion and the people involved there, one of the things that I think would be just a big deal with that is having people in certain aspects of the military there and just doing just stuff to make the battles, be less dramatically of a win for one side or the other. But then I was thinking, no, this is one fighter in one fleet. It means nothing to the grand scale of things.
Any sabotage would be with making sure that someone like, Mr. McNapperson is, the one calling the shots or not calling the shots.
Right, or Fork being put up into high levels
existing,
of... bit there. Because he's definitely someone who's going to be a problem. Now, we got to see a lot of action from Reinhardt's admirals. And they all handled themselves competently.
Yep.
And I like that this show is primarily a dialogue show. So in order to have what's not really dialogue, but more like monologue of characters commenting on other characters' fleet movements to build up that that character is competent.
Or incompetent in some cases.
Incompetent. Yeah. But Yang was used as that in a very clever way here. There were multiple times where he was encountering like Mittermeier, for instance, and he's like, damn it, Reinhardt has some actually decent people on his bit there, so I can't completely outmaneuver them.
And I really liked that because it was something where, in Yang's situation, he's really competent, but he's just one guy.
He's one guy, yeah.
In Reinhardt's case, he is hyper competent, but he's also not everywhere.
Nope.
And I thought that it was really good, both with all his admiralty that were doing good jobs, but then also the one that wasn't, the one that got greedy. I can't remember. Bittenfeld, yeah.
Bittenfeld, yeah.
That was a situation where Reinhardt very much relies on the effectiveness of the people under him, right?
Yep.
Like, he is a badass dude, but he also is someone that's sitting on the shoulders and being lifted up by the people under him, right?
So then he demands results.
Right, exactly.
And he has no room for incompetence. So we saw the difference in how incompetence is reacted to from the Empire side versus the Alliance side. The idea that he's like, do you see me as some genie in a bottle that just dispenses fleets out of my ass, basically? Cut off all communications with Bittenfeld. And that'll tell him what happens with regards to greed and failure. And that gave me chills.
That gave me chills in both in multiple different ways. Because on the one hand, it's you have failed me,
you failed me for the last time.
Yeah, exactly. Bro. But then at the same time, it's the thing of I'm good at what I do, but don't think I can just pull a miracle out, right?
That was cool.
We still have numbers. I'm a person, we
are bound by the laws of reality.
Right, exactly. Like the idea that if this hadn't been Reinhardt, if it had been other people in the Empire, it probably would have gone very differently. Now, of course, because Reinhardt's like a genius and the people under him are super competent and whatnot. But basically the Empire would have been in a very similar situation to the Alliance in all the chaos going on and people just making bad calls and things like that. And a lot of people in the Alliance are making good calls. But
decent calls,
Yeah. But just the idea that it wasn't enough. Right.
I really liked the one admiral who basically realized, we're going to lose. I want you to organize the entire fleet. And there were a couple movements here where I was like, Ender's Game. I got Ender's Game kind of moments there. So there's one part where
The spindle formation.
Yeah. He completely shifted into basically a needle, like a sharp point. Yep. And just drove it directly through the fleet, broke through their main ships there, and sustained like another 10% of their fleet's losses in just that engagement.
Yeah.
But the remaining section of the fleet was able to get away.
And then he turned some of the rear ships, which included his own, to basically just turn and be like, to make sure they get away.
Right. Fire all missiles at close
range.
Everything,
point blank, like, you know.
We've lost anyway, so
let them get out of here.
Let them get a chance out of here. And that's really exciting because we've seen the falling on their sword iterations of Alliance admirals in the past, and there's different
negative
versions.
ways, right?
Yes, in negative ways,
where it's like,
where they just shoot themselves in the head, for one, or they literally just fight to stupidity till they all die,
right?
And it's like, wow, okay, but this guy. This guy does it for his comrades, and that's inspiring.
It's something where there's actually something gained through the sacrifice, rather because we see plenty of people sacrificing things when they don't have anything to lose because they're not on the front lines, but also when there's nothing really to be gained by it other than them ego tripping maybe and being like, this is the whatever, you know.
And I kind of wonder if that's a plot point that'll be brought up. Is not only does Yang's kind of felt that the idea of millions of lives in the palm of my hand, that kind of power might get to someone's head, but it also might get to someone's head in a negative, depressing way. The idea that my decisions led to millions or hundreds of thousands of people dying, and
that'll gray your hair,
and
for sure.
Yeah, not only will that gray your hair, but just the idea that would kind of chill you. Chill your empathy a little bit.
Oh, sure.
The idea that it then becomes just a statistic.
Right. Well, we've seen that with Reinhardt, right?
Yes,
like
we have seen that with
Reinhardt. He has
Reinhardt.
his ambitions, so there's a personal motivation behind what he's doing and everything.
Right.
But it's also an idea of, no, you screwed up, right?
You might have 150,000 or however many people in your individual ships.
Maybe a couple million, but I'm not going to send in more people to die that will cause other people to die because they're not helping over here because you made a mistake. That's your mistake.
And now all the people in your ships have to own it.
Yeah. So they have to own it, and because they have to own it either way, you better at least try and make it worthwhile. Like, that's something that's messed up. I actually want Bittenfeld to have survived and have like 25% of his fleet left. They basically skip the whole battle and basically say like, these are the results, and then Reinhardt is shown basically like demoting him. Like, he kneels in front of Reinhardt, and Reinhardt's like, you're demoted. Yeah.
I never want to see you in command of a ship again. You will go back to being like a corporal or something.
Yeah, he gets orange.
You'll be like a deck sergeant. Yeah, essentially like that. And but I will not, I will not tarnish your family or your name or what have you with your failure, but you will no longer be in command of men, essentially. Again.
Yeah.
But then we see him like elevate someone else and be like, you are now you can now take his fleet. Subsume the fleet that was yours into this one here.
Congratulations, Admiral Piet.
Exactly. Or just making a super fleet that gets attached to Mittermeiers or Kircheis's. Maybe he makes Oberstein even like have his own specific fleet or something. I don't know.
Oh, don't trust that guy.
Well, Oberstein saw him have this cutthroat aspect here, and he's like, whoa.
Yeah. Like,
that was amazing.
Yeah. I couldn't have done it better myself. But
I mean, he doesn't have a hard-on for just lives being killed, but
but he doesn't like the Empire.
He doesn't like the Empire's dynasty.
But one of the things that I did really appreciate, there was a part of me, I guess, and maybe this was making bad assumptions about this show, but there was a part of me that was looking at Reinhardt's admiralty as basically a pecking order for Yang to be able to climb the ladder.
Oh.
Like,
no, this isn't that type of
show. But
show.
it's totally not that kind of show.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, same.
Because I want to get to the point where I care about all these characters that were shown in the OP, but also just all these people that aren't Reinhardt and Kircheis, right? Because, of course, we care about them, right? Because they're the main two and all that stuff.
Right.
But, like...
Ruhenthal.
Yeah, Ruhenthal, Mittermeier, like...
What's the orange-haired guy? He's probably my favorite in terms of the voice.
Oh,
just the voice of all of them. His
Kempf?
voice. No. Kempf is older.
It might be Mittermeier.
No, Mittermeier's blonde boy.
Oh, yeah,
blonde,
the bright orange hair.
Yeah, bright orange hair.
Yeah, what was his name?
Yeah, this guy here. Yeah, he.
he got introduced way
they don't show their name
on.
every time. It's like at the beginning of the episode.
Right, he's the one that goes up against...
Or was that Bittenfeld?
Oh, it is Bittenfeld.
That was Bittenfeld.
Oh, okay. So actually, one of the things that I liked about Bittenfeld is that he doesn't actually seem to be super egotistical necessarily, but when he speaks, he has this almost calmness to him here.
Hey,
and he seems rather
wait a minute,
rather simple. So
wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Crackpot, maybe a little bit tinfoil theory. You mentioned him coming back, right, and getting super demoted. Now, we have talked about before about how it really seems like Code Geass references this show a lot.
Oh my god.
Bittenfeld has orange hair. If he had an orange boy moment and he is the one with the orange hair...
That is kind of funny.
I'm just saying, if that's a thing where, like, where the reason it was Orange Boy in Code Geass was because, yeah, we're kind of making a reference to this one character who had really bright orange hair, that would be amazing. I would love that so much.
But, I mean, this is very much in the beginning of the show. Yeah, no, this was the line. Yeah, he's like, damn, dodged by Yang Wenli? Well, very well, forward. The goddess of victory is waving her underwear in your faces.
So basically, just like, he has this simplistic aspect to him, and yet his voice doesn't seem like the, I'm Macho Man. It's anything like, I am a calm gentleman. And yet I look like a monster of a man. Like, he looks like some Highlander, like, there can only be one kind of character. And yet he actually seems like just a jovial guy who's maybe not taking this as seriously as he should. Because he feels like, there's no way we can lose.
Yeah, your overconfidence is your weakness.
Yeah, he's overconfident. Yeah. That's his flaw.
And oh man, anytime like there's this feels like a chess game where it's like where the Grandmasters will get to the point where they're like, oh, I've lost, right?
Right.
Because they realize they're up against the Grandmaster, and the Grandmaster isn't going to make mistakes, so they're going to they know how to do the thing that will guarantee their demise, right? But if you're in a situation where, you know, you can win with 100% certainty, right? Where there's no questioning that. But that doesn't mean that you're going to if you don't do everything properly, right?
Right. Now, this was something I wanted to bring up. When Bittenfeld decides to send out the Valkyries, that's the equivalent of basically like, all right, launch the aircraft carrier, send out all the fighters, right? But he says we're going to do this with Mecklinger's fleet, but we don't show him communicating with Mecklinger, so it's almost like he was the kind of guy that's in the like in the MOBA, the guy that basically like thinks that they're a tank when they're actually the melee assassin, and they're like, all right guys, now we're gonna launch this combo, but it's like we never communicated on what that combo was,
right?
So he jumps in, dives on a four
you may have amazing damage and sustain, but the thing is that
you're still 1v4.
Yeah, so if that sustain game is just a little bit off, you're going to die horribly.
well, the thing is that the idea of launching the Valkyries is like his like, yes, this will be what we'll do in because we're close range here. It'll be enough to just wipe them out with the fighters. Oberstein then says, well, he probably wanted to conclude the victory with his own hands, which actually wasn't necessarily completely true. He did want to conclude victory, but he kind of wanted to work in tandem with Mecklinger's fleet. So are we going to end up having a thing where
Mecklinger was like someone that was underneath him?
Well, I don't think so. I think Mecklinger is the little mustache guy with the perfect hair, like perfectly even hair. I'm not sure if that's the guy, but
there are a lot of characters.
There are a lot of characters. Let me see if I can find it there.
Okay, Mecklinger.
Mecklinger is one of the vice admirals.
Right. Oh, hey, and we had Bittenfeld and Mecklinger next to each other on the list.
Yeah. So if anything, I'm just gonna go and see if they show Mecklinger at any point. Yeah, I remember Ruenthal because he's got the different colored eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah, Kempf is the older one.
Yep.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
One of the things that blew me away this episode was how quickly they changed scenes.
Yes.
Because it almost didn't even feel like a battle. It was more of a montage, right?
Right, montage of just the Alliance losing.
And one of the things that I've kind of wondered about this show and how they were going to handle it is that when you get into
Mecklinger is the one with the mustache and the perfect hair. Yep.
Gotcha. But when it gets into tactics, right? Not like long-term strategy stuff, but like individual tactics in the moment. How do they make it be something that is easy to communicate and simple and yet seems like real tactics, you know, not just like, you know,
not just do the thing,
do the thing, call out switch, you know, every 5 seconds, right?
Yeah.
How would they do that, given that, one, it's space combat, right?
Right.
Because so that's the rules of engagement are different, right? But then also, how do you do that when it's something where there's so many things happening at once? How do you make it so that you feel like you have an in-depth understanding of the individual battles, right? And they did a really good job of this, with basically just being like calling out a very simple, like, do a this formation kind of a thing, and then they might have someone else in like another area, like giving commentary of like what they thought of it, you know? And then that was just how they did it. And that, combined with the names being shown, like, it was very chaotic. Like, I would not be able to tell you what all the characters were that did the things and died and, you know, and all that stuff. But holistically, I felt like I was able to get a good understanding of what was going on for something of this giant scale all in one episode. Which blows me away.
Yeah, and I needed to rewatch a couple things here in order to kind of fully get what was going on, but I think I figured out what happened. The Alliance fleet had 3 main fleets that were then broken down the middle. That was mainly Bittenfeld's doing, though. So he needs to be respected and kind of given honor for the fact that he helped break the middle of their line with the rest of the other fleets. He advanced too far, but he thought, I haven't advanced too far. I'm going to attack Yang's fleet from behind with the remaining 2 fleets that are engaging them at the front. But when he did that, he did this, which I actually like realized, oh my god, that would mean everything. He said, switch the main guns to short range and launch the fighters. He basically assumed we're going to get close and personal with them. Yang just says, oh, you're out of range for your short guns. We'll just turn around with the main guns and just obliterate you.
Yeah.
And Yang was already using big battleships as shields against the other 2 Empire fleets. So he basically was like, you're not even able to fire back. I'm just going to just annihilate you. And then Bittenfeld's like, crap.
This didn't work.
But the thing was, he was doing the, where's Mecklinger, the guy that I was going to come in here when I dove in here? And Reinhardt's like, no, you don't get that because you didn't communicate with us here.
Gotcha.
So this is an example of like a reduced form of the, I'm going to hog all the glory, but maybe it wasn't, I'm going to hog all the glory. It's like, I'm going to take the initiative and act maybe without the coordination of the team here. So this is him being like the Alliance ones there and thinking about himself as one fleet rather than a part of a large fleet.
Well, and a part in, not the tip of the spear for it. You know, like he is,
even though he was just used as the tip of the spear.
But he's still a cog in the machine and needs to, you know, play nice and not think that he's the one that's going to be calling all the shots.
Sure. I just like that it's not as straightforward as him completely blundering. It was that he got too eager after a big victory. And then he's like, let's continue this. Let's keep it going, guys. And Yang's just like, nope. And then
which is great, because it shows how the idea that the victory could be so kind of decided when they're still just kind of being like, all right, now apply continuous pressure, keep firing, right? There's nothing especially like urgent happening, right? I mean, there's tons of people dying, but it's just let this continue for the next half hour.
The Empire will win the war of attrition. They have more fleets on their way, Kirchheis and such.
They're in better positions and all that stuff. And and
so the idea that he basically lunged in unnecessarily. They were already winning the long game, so why run a risk potentially on a short term?
They were winning the poke battle, and then he just dove in.
They're like, dude,
why did you do that?
They're literally like getting countered by our long range stuff, and you're like, let's switch to melee. God damn it, Bittenfeld. Bittenfeld's like, but there's more glory this way, and my orange hair demands it. We're in an orange planet, god damn it.
I love how they had like,
I have a synergy with orange here.
Well, and when Bittenfeld had his moment of like, yes, switch the main guns to short range, like, and granted, there's the star that's casting the red light and everything, bathing it in blood, I love it. But the one with the orange hair that's about to do the fiery brash action literally has the red globe behind him when the guy next to him is just in darkness, you know? Like,
he's just like, I'm going to die here, aren't I?
it's like a way to quickly establish the personality and the reasoning behind the decision that's being made.
Because you need to have a quick characterization for a lot of these admirals in the beginning of the show, because there's not much about to identify them.
20 seconds, you know, and then
other than like stuff we've seen in the very beginning, like Mittermeier and you know, Ruenthal and stuff.
Oh,
but anyway, y'all, thank you so
great.
much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. You can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
That's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel, and it's really cool. It's a lot more personal scale than this, but there are some times when it gets pretty epic. It's on Amazon, available for purchase. Link in the description down below if you want to check it out. Hardback and ebook within the U.S., ebook outside the U.S. Go get it.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see it there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.